show. Today we decided that it would be very much fun to talk about bus driving and God and putting them to.
Actually, your bus and God driving your bus, to be exact.
Actually, we're going to talk about dumb analogies. How about that? Why don't we talk about that first? So, Professor McIntyre, I need to ask you, what do you believe is the queen of all sciences, and why on earth does the queen deserve her coronation?
The queen of all the sciences and the arts, by the way, you left out the arts, is philosophy. Right? Reason is because only in the discipline of philosophy do you get to examine the underlying assumptions that we all carry around about four ideas: reality, truth, goodness, and beauty. No other discipline drills down to our basic assumptions about those four things.
Well, I'll go
Next
another.
question.
I'll go another step. I'll not necessarily contradict you, but dive a little deeper. I would say that epistemology is the only indisputable discipline that
Well, you're right.
goes under
You're
all,
right.
because
You're right.
I would argue that your theology dramatically influences your philosophy, but not, of course, not your epistemology. Your theory of knowledge, that's what epistemology is. Your ability to discern how you know something
Mhm, mhm.
determines whether or not you believe in God, and whether or not you believe
Yeah,
in
you're
God will
absolutely right. Yeah.
ridiculously
Mhm.
affect your philosophy.
Yeah.
If you answer, that's kind of the big, you know, get fork in the road. Do you believe in God? Yes or no?
Mm. That's where you break your drill when you're drilling down on an idea. You break it on the bedrock of epistemology. I once had a department chairman who tried to fire me, by the way, unsuccessfully, as it turned out,
But
who
you
told
retired
me,
anyway for
who told me, the
$120,000.
man's an idiot. The man's a complete moron. He actually said to me one day, after he was doing an evaluation of my teeth, he said, "You don't need an epistemology to have a philosophy."
And
Complete moron.
the immediate follow up question is, well, how do you know that? How do you know that?
I
there,
tell you,
there's
I wish you
there's
were in the room to slap him around.
there's always that the 5 year old that thinks he's a philosopher, but is
I know.
somehow taking that just thinks that philosophy is a matter of asking why, and to a certain degree they're right. But at the same time, you do have to put your flag in the ground and say, look, I do not know with 100% certainty,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna have to go with it anyway
Right,
because I have to do something. Otherwise,
right,
you are just gonna be sitting there going, why,
right.
why, well,
Well, we're gonna
endlessly.
do it. We're gonna do another show on epistemology only. But
Oh, that's right.
here, I want to get to your conceptual model of God, and I have offered you, after listening to your theory of God, your conceptual model of God, I explained it to Alex and to myself. Is Alex, and I'll just let me finish.
I haven't said
Alex
anything.
Alex believes in a personal God who is really driving his bus through life. That is to say, that Alex is a passenger and God is the bus driver. And God is leading Alex's life down the highways, the byways, the off road, the on road of his life. Is that about right?
No. This is why I hate the bus driving example. It can work in certain cases, but the my big bone to pick with it is that it's an idealistic um, version. In I believe that the what you've described is the ideal and is what we'd like to achieve. It's sort of like the platonic form of how we'd like life. But reality is that no human being has allowed God to have 100% access to their bus, because by our very human nature, we don't have, or we struggle to have perfect faith. I've never heard of anybody with a perfect faith, but that's what it'd be nice to have. So,
Okay. Who made the bus?
who made the bus? God.
Yeah, God. Who made the road the bus is traveling on?
I would say God.
Good. So why aren't you driving the bus?
Why am I driving the bus? Because
Why are
if
you not driving the bus?
oh, why am I not driving the bus?
Yeah.
Well, because what? No, I am driving the bus.
No, you're not. No, you
I
insist that God is driving your bus.
Of course I do. By only directions though. The same way a GPS, would you no one would say my GPS is driving me. I mean,
Hmm.
it's my map. It shows me where to go. And not anytime it says go right, I could drive left. It's just like that. I mean, if you really insist on the bus driving analogy, God is my roadmap and my GPS. I can follow it and I can go off-roading, crash into a ditch or whatever, you know. And maybe you could go even further with the analogy and say God is Alexa. And I go, Alexa, I need a tow. You could make a reference to the prayer. This is why I hate analogies. They break down after a
So
certain level of
you
scrutiny.
don't like? Well, I agree with you. Arguments from analogy is the worst form of induction. I used to teach that.
Is that
But
even
anyway,
that
but
even that is an argument? I didn't know
what?
that. A
Oh yeah.
potential argument.
Well, yeah. Anselm's argument from the existence of God is, an argument from analogy. God
Huh.
is that than which no greater thing can even be thought. Therefore, God must exist because if God didn't exist, then God could not be that than which nothing greater could be thought, because God would only exist in my mind and not in reality, and that's absurd. So therefore, God exists because God is that than which nothing greater can be thought.
Ah, the Catholics drilled you so well. Ah, ah. It's
Anyway, I just wanted to tweak your bus metaphor. Actually,
all
it's
right.
my bus metaphor.
Yeah. Too late.
you,
Copyright.
notice, you notice how I talked them into accepting my definition of terms, right?
I do, I told you it's a stupid analogy. I never.
Anyway, I prefer. Okay, I
This
have
is
no problem.
non-consensual theology right here.
I know. I like your GPS scheme. That
Okay.
that
I
that
just thought of that.
yeah, I know. Well, you're quick on your feet. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sitting down right now, but
Yeah.
I talk fast. I know.
You talk fast, and you'll always find an escape hatch when you're cornered. You're like a
What?
rat. You're like a little rat. You know that?
Always find an escape hatch when I'm horny?
No, cornered.
Oh.
Well, that too. That too. I'm saying, but that's your problem. That's not my problem. Anyway, Valentine's Day is coming up, so you better fix that, right?
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
God's driving my bus.
okay. Yeah. So many people, I was listening to Will Witt interview some students at the University of Arizona, and I was so impressed. He actually found students who believed, as you believe, that because they believe in God, life is happier, life is more fulfilling, life is more optimistic, uh, life is more beautiful, more real, and more good. Notice reality, truth, goodness, and beauty woven all through that.
Mhm.
And these are college students that we would normally figure, well, they don't know very much. But actually, there's such a difference between those students who said they believed in God for that reason than the ones who said, uh, I'm I'm majoring in sociology. I throw a ball around the field. I don't believe in God.
Well, this is the biggest problem I have. Well, okay, one of the biggest problems I have with the at least the most of the conservative movement.
Mm.
And it's that for a long time, not so much now, but for a long time, they've discounted millennials. And they've been so ridiculously condescending. Oh, you're too privileged and you're whiny and you're this and you're that.
Mm.
And no, there are exceptions. There are some exceptional millennials out there,
Oh
but
yeah,
they
you're
have.
one of them. You're one of them.
Oh, stop it, you!
Actually, you're not even a millennial, are you? No, you're not. You're an iGen.
No. I'm
You're
I'm
an
even
iGen.
more edgy than that. I'm sharp and edgy. I'm so edgy. I'll cut you.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
cut
but
cut yourself. Anyway.
but but it really is no shock to me because it's not so much that belief in God is dwindling down. Things like church attendance, people. Statistically speaking, yes, or more people identifying as agnostic and atheist is growing, but that to me seems, I consider that to be more of a fad. What's replacing it, and to me, and is much a bigger concern, is that people are using God as sort of like a cushioner from
Mhm,
reality,
mhm.
as an on and off switch. That's the analogy that Lewis uses.
Or they use God as what I call celestial silly putty,
Yeah.
filling in the holes of what we don't know. I've often said theology and religion will always survive to the degree that humans don't know everything. And we're never going to know everything. So religion and theology have a bright future.
Well, to be fair to the atheists, their typical response is, if you really drill down, and not all atheists are condescending like Dr. Michael Shermer.
Yeah.
If you drill down with him and listen to what he has to say, if you go really deep to the core of, what is the purpose of life, he'll be honest with you and say, we don't know, but the best we can do is keep searching.
Well, Michael has just made a decision. He was on my show, Freedom Matters. Michael makes the decision to only attenuate epistemologically to those things that he can verify with his senses: seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching. Empirical verification. For the rest, he says it's all brain activity. It's atoms bumping into each other in the brain. That's it. Now, I don't know about you, but Johann Sebastian Bach is more than atoms bumping into other atoms in my brain. I'm sorry. Okay. I
Now,
could tell the difference between rap music and Johann Sebastian Bach. Boo bada boo
anyway,
bada boo 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 boo
you need to get off those
boo
drugs. You
boo.
really need to get off those drugs, whatever they are. Most, I would say,
I'm
just from
drinking
being,
wine.
the, oh, that's right, yeah, from being exposed to my fellow or peers that are secular,
Yeah.
they they buy into that philosophy because
Yeah.
I would say it's a lack of real experiences or supernatural experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that. Well, yeah, I mean, the majority of activities that most of my peers do are secular nature, and secular activities are encouraged versus religious experience or spiritual experiences of either good or bad natures are usually shoved away as something that you only wackos or weirdos do, and it's not really, unless you are born into a kind of environment, it's very rare for you to pursue or seek it out because
Mm-hmm.
it's so discouraged by the culture,
Mm-hmm.
which is very depressing because if you believe that if all the data in the universe could be poured into a computer, there would be no mystery to reality whatsoever. If you really believe that, then you're doomed to misery
Yeah.
because life is predictable now. You
Well, there's
cannot,
always new data. There's
there's all,
always new
yeah,
data.
well, that's true. I mean, for of course, I'm talking from a
Now
hypothetical.
Shermer admits this. He admits there's always new data. All he says is, "Show me the proof." And if you don't have the proof, I'm just going to write you off as saying, "Okay, that's just your opinion."
Sure.
And you know what? He has the right to do that, and the empiricists have the right to do that. But my problem with the millennials, not with your generation, because I think that your generation is turning the corner on this. But the millennials, they don't read literature, they don't read history, they've never been taught civics, they certainly don't read philosophy. They spend their time uh, uh, blowing weed and watching porn. That's what they do.
It's really hard for me to refute that going through the list of all my friends. I mean, it, but it's not. I mean, it is to a certain. It is to the majority of the degree their fault. But I don't want to
No, I blame
discount.
the parents. I blame the parents.
Well, yeah, I don't want to discount the parents or the society they grew up in because, see, their parents at least were born into that sort of religious aspect, and they clearly have turned it away. But it's unfair to the millennials because the millennials and my generation are really the first generations that really the majority really didn't necessarily grow up with a transcendent value set
Mhm.
with any
And the,
sort of
right.
non-materialistic.
Right. And the reason for that is because the teachers from K through 12, actually K through 14,
And especially
were
college
the
ed.
children of hippies.
Mhm.
And the children of the hippies bought, as Roger Scruton, our discussion with Roger Scruton, they have bought into a totally materialistic outlook upon the world. There's no wind under their wings. That's it. They don't have any lift. But your generation is revolting against that because every generation must rebel.
Absolutely, we must. So
Yeah.
now, I mean, I'm seeing people my age and younger that are very materialistic, but they recognize their unsatisfaction,
Mhm.
and they want something more. They don't, religion has been so trashed and demeaned and mocked by comedians and politicians and you know and professors and all that. They're very hesitant to go up to it, which is why churches are now doing a big, revolt against religion. They're rebranding themselves.
Hmm.
For example, a very, very common thing in Protestant churches is you'll hear, "Oh, it's not a religion; it's a relationship." Which, if you said that 100 or 200 years ago, people would have just thought you were
They
on some
laugh
on
at you. I know.
drugs or
I
whatever.
know. I know. I
But
know.
now that's what they're really pushing for is trying to trim off the excess fat of
Yep.
at least Christianity, trying to trim off church nonsense, church politics, trying to trim
Mhm.
off as much as they can. In some cases, I think they're trimming off too much. In some cases, I think they're not trimming off enough. But by and large, they all are kind of meeting up in the middle
Yep.
somewhere
Yep.
where you focus on your individual relationship with God, whatever it
Yep.
may be.
And the poor Catholics are running to catch up, and they're falling on their face. I mean, the
Well,
Catholics are saying,
they
"Hey,
haven't.
we
They
want to
need to
be
keep their
Protestant,"
pants on.
and keep your pants on, yeah,
They can't keep their
and
pants.
don't worry about No Child Left Behind. Uh,
No behind left undone.
no behind, as Christopher Hitchens used to say, no behind left undone. And the poor Catholics, I mean, they're late to the party. They're a dollar short and an hour late. It's incredible.
You know, I can honestly, at least I will open them with welcome arms when they come around.
Well,
There's
I
this
don't.
one. Well, I'll go an even a step further and mention. I think it was C.S. Lewis. He said that once man has climbed the summit of knowledge and reached the very, very top of human understanding, they'll find a nice tea table all set up with the Christians already there waiting for them.
There you are. I have a
No,
nice crystal wine glass. Did you hear that? Every time you score a point, I'm gonna hit the wine glass.
keep bringing it, kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was Theology with Alex and Mark. Welcome to the Alex and Mark Show. Now we're gonna say goodbye, but don't forget to subscribe.
God love you.
And bless you. And
Bye,
then
Alex,
you say and keep you.
and keep you. Yeah. And we're out. Okay. Stop recording.
Any second now.
And you go.